It's early in the morning before I start my run in this beautiful El Paso desert. I'm here to tell you one thing that will help you get promoted, that it's within your control. Besides the other things that they tell you what to do, besides doing PT, all that stuff, there's one thing that's within your control that you can volunteer for. Be a board baby.
Sing our song with the Army of the Free.
I'm proud of the Corps of the Non-Commissioned Officer and would all times conduct myself so to bring credit
Yes,
upon the
you
Corps,
heard me.
military service.
I also heard a lot of leaders and a lot of peers of mine that not only they tell their soldiers, oh, I'm not a board baby. Yet they get still promoted, sure, why not? But you're leaving stuff to chance. If you take control over your career as early as possible by going to the boards, you'll get promoted faster than the other soldiers. I'm going to give you different examples and also why going to the board is important. Not just winning the board, there's something deeper when you compete for the boards. Number one, I'm not the only one telling you this. It's the Army. Look at the DAPAM 600-25. It specifically tells you to go to the board. Now let's start from the very beginning before I even lose track of what I'm trying to say. Going to the board as young as a private all the way to E4, before you even start going to the promotion board, it gives you an advantage over other soldiers. It's the knowledge that you gain while studying. Yes, it sucks. You're gonna use a lot of your personal time studying for the board, and I've been there. I feel lazy doing it, and I'm pretty sure everybody does. Studying is not sexy. It's true. But as soon as you open that book, which is I started off with ArmyStudyGuide.com. Even that, as simple as ArmyStudyGuide.com or the Army Study Guide, which gives you question and answers and you just memorize it, it's a good place to start. You compete in this monthly boards, it gives you a rhythm, and then you surprisingly learn a thing or two about the Army. It prepares you to go to the promotion board from E4 to E5. From there, a lot of people stop going to the board because it's a requirement from E4 to E5 for the promotion board and E5 to E6. Once they get that, and I was the same way, I had that mentality wherein, okay, I already made staff sergeant, I'm never gonna go to the board. Funny thing is, you look at the DAPAM again, it tells you that you need to compete in boards. I myself, I competed all the way till first sergeant. So I became the first sergeant of the year, and I tell you the advantage of going to the boards as a first sergeant later on in this video. Let's revisit DAPAM 600-25. It tells you that you need to be competing in boards, regardless of MOS. If you look at it, every single MOS tells you go to the board, and doesn't tell you to win the board. It just tells you to compete brigade or higher. That's it. All you have to do is show up. Now, granted, before you can compete in a brigade or higher, you gotta be competing in a battalion or a company level for the soldier of the month and soldier of the quarter. Same thing as NCO of the month, NCO of the quarter. Granted, you gotta win those. But the more you keep going, eventually you're gonna win your battalion board. And once you get to the brigade level board, you don't even have to win it. It's already in your NCOER. Now, I'm telling you, I went to the boards and I'm terrible at boards. I am horrible at boards. One, English is my second language, so I'm having a hard time articulating a lot of the words and a lot of the creeds that you have to memorize and you have to recite in front of a group of people that's way higher ranking than yours. That's terrible. And add on to the nerves, good luck. So I kept losing. First time I went to the board as a PFC, my platoon sergeant forced me to go. I'm glad he did. And I did horrible. I was sweating. And I couldn't articulate any words. I failed. I went again the next month and the next month. And finally, I won. But it got me to prepare. And eventually, I went to the promotion board for E5 and E6. And then, while going through the board, especially when you're already NCO, you're reading the regulation. I moved on from ArmyStudyGuide.com to actually reading the regulations and the doctrine, because every board they publish an MOI. It tells you specifically on what are the subject areas that they're going to ask you about the board. And then furthermore, if you go on the second page or third page of that MOI, it tells you the name of the board members. And here's a key part. Each board member will have a topic that they're going to ask you. And for most cases, I've seen the biggest discrepancy. It's kind of a cheat sheet wherein there's less topics that the board members have assigned to them compared to the actual MOI. So if you're running out of time and you don't have a lot of time to study, look at those first and study those subjects. And then if you have more time, go back, just look through other subjects that you need to study. This becomes very important when you become a senior leader. Because how can you tell a soldier, hey, for you to go get promoted for E5, E6, you got to go to the boards, when you don't even go to the boards yourself? But another thing besides having that credibility, telling your soldiers going to the board, is the stuff you learn, man. Because it forces you to read the doctrine and the regulations. It's a forcing function for yourself. Because if you don't put yourself out there or sign up for the board as a first sergeant, you're never going to read that. You will never have the time to read doctrine and regulation. But if you do force yourself, you know what, Sergeant Major, I'm competing for the next quarter for the board for the first sergeant of the quarter. But the key thing is, when you're a first sergeant, only one normally goes every quarter. And then you automatically go straight to brigade. And guess what? That's all you need to do, is be competing at the brigade level. A lot of my peers here in the academy are actually great at boards. They're board babies, like myself. Amongst other things that we're good at, we have to check that block of going to the board. 1, it gives you credibility. 2, it forces you to study. 3, you're a first sergeant. You're a platoon sergeant. You're about to be a sergeant major. You can't just give advice out of thin air. You gotta base it on doctrine. And it's a forcing function for you to dive into doctrine. So 1, you can teach better. 2, you have credibility. 3, you get promoted. And if you don't want to take my advice, that's fine. You know, I'm not gonna give you my resume, but I made it great in the Army in a short amount of time. But one thing that I was able to control was forcing myself to go to the board. In fact, the last board I've ever competed before I came to the academy was the First Sergeant of the Year board for the brigade level. And what I did was I kind of influenced and forced my soldiers to go. So we all went TDY to travel, and I was competing for the First Sergeant, and then my station commander was competing for the station commander, equivalent to a platoon sergeant, and RA NCO, which is the regular Army NCO of the quarter, and reserve soldier of the quarter. They hated me for it, for forcing them to go to the board. And I told them, one day you'll thank me. Some of them won. And once you get that award, that recognition that you are the station commander of the year, you are the first sergeant of the year, nobody can dispute that. No one can dispute that. So I'm here to tell you, be a board baby. Alright, well, besides researching a lot of stuff about how to build muscles, work out your muscles, work out your mind, go to the boards. That's all I got today. Hopefully this video inspires you a little bit and pushes you to do things that not other soldiers are willing to do. And that's how you get separated from the rest of the pack. It's 6:30 in the morning. Time to go for a run. This is where we're going to be running today. Let me show you. This is a huge. I just hope there's no snakes. Stay new so you learn a lot more. This is the High Speed FNG. Thanks for watching. Now go do PT.